Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, on this beautiful Friday, December 1st. Man, December 1st, here we go. We're coming to you right here from Lubbock, Texas at the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios and on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio. I hope you guys have had a fantastic week. I've had a fantastic week. I've had a busy week. Seen lots of patients, seen a lot of new patients, done some workouts, eating some healthy food. It's been a great week. So I hope you guys have had a great week out there. I hope everything's going your way. And tonight's our weekend wrap-up show. And it also starts our fourth month of doing our show. So I'm excited about being here today. And I think it's going to be, I look forward to our next 3 months. So we got this first 3 months done. I think I looked up, we could possibly have done 65 shows. I know we have a few of those shows that have messed up along the way. And so we've had to cancel or stop. I know we missed 2 last week, so that'd be 63. And we probably had a handful. So we're probably somewhere around 60 shows that we've done. And so you'd think by now I'd get good at this. Just kidding. Yeah, it's going to take me a while, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with living full speed. This is not a perfect show. You know, I was listening to Robert Pratt on 98.7 before this show, and you know, he talks, his little intro is like his professional, prepared, professional guy that doesn't waste your time and all that sort of thing. It's like, you know, one of these days I hope I can get to be as good as Robert doing his show, and maybe someday with enough shows under my belt, we'll finally get there. But it's been fun so far. I've enjoyed it. I'm going to stay after it, and I hope you guys are enjoying it too. I know that we're making some impact in some people's life because I get the feedback from you guys, and I get the ones that are listening to the show and watching this on Facebook and all those sort of things. So hey, if you have any comments, if you're listening to the show tonight on the radio, you have any comments and you'd like to send us a text, I'd be glad to answer your questions. It's 806-794-0400 is our text line. And if you're listening to us on Facebook or YouTube or X, then you could just send me a message and I'll get it right here. If you got anything you want to know on this beautiful Friday evening as we start December, then let me know and we'll find out what's going on. We'll see if we can answer those questions for you and see if we can make your life better. And so I had one of those moments today with one of my patients. She came to see me, and she'd been to multiple other places to try to get her body straightened out and get her back straightened out and see if and she'd really been frustrated with the whole thing. And we've been working on her, and she came in, and I don't know, she's been with us for several weeks now, but she's doing great, and she's doing way better. She's able to function in her day. She's able to find out. I mean, her brain's getting better, her body's getting better. And I asked her today how she was doing, and I said, "How's your body?" And she said, "It's good." And I said, "How's your brain?" And she said, "It's getting better." And I said, "You know, who would have thought it would have been so simple?" And she said, "I know." And she said, "I wish I would have known about you sooner." And I was like, "You know, I'm sorry. Like, that's 100% my fault. It's my fault that you didn't know about me sooner. I've been here for 19 years in Lubbock and working on people." And it's like, I can't believe that and we we have some local guys. We have some local guys that get a lot of attention. We have some attorneys that get a lot of attention. I'm sure you guys, wherever you're listening from, y'all have these same kind of people in your town. We used to have a car dealer that got a lot of attention, and he got a little bit too much attention, ended up going to jail. But there's that's what I told her. I said, well, maybe I should get the gorilla or the whatever to, you know, have a chiropractic billboard somewhere and get your attention and get more people's attention about what we do here. And she just laughed, and she was like, "Oh, please don't do it that way." And so we had a really we had a good joke. But I told her, I said, that's part of why I do this radio show every night from 6 to 7 Monday through Friday. And this Facebook deal it's just like it's like trying to get to share because I feel guilty about not sharing this information with you. Like I really do. It's it's um it's like, what else do I have to do? What else do I have to do that's more important than sharing this information with you? What else do I have to do? How much better would your sister's life be, or your aunt's life be, or your friend that you work with? How much better would their life be if their health improved? I mean, every single human being on the planet is is that way, and like we all could be healthier, right? And that's really what we've been doing for the last 3 months is talking about all the different ways that we can be healthier, and trying to give all of us in our community a way to master their health, right? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help you master your health. I've actually got a the Rock University idea in my head to create. If any of you old school teachers or something want to help me create a program with lesson plans and all that stuff, that we could create the Rock University, and that anybody that wanted to go through it, by the time they got done, they would have their master's degree in health and wellness, and from learning true health and wellness, not allopathic health and wellness, not treating a symptom with a supplement. That's not what we do. We don't try to treat a symptom with a supplement. We try to give you the nutrients that your body needs. We try to give you the exercise that your body needs. We try to give you the thought processes that your body needs in order to keep your body healthy. And in order to keep your body healthy, because you have a purpose here on this planet, because there's something for you to do. And so when she told me that today, she's like, I wish I would have known you, sooner, or I wish I would have found you sooner. And I was like, man, I gotta get better. And I told her, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, and I gotta get better. And so that's what we're doing. We're talking to you tonight. It's Friday night. It's 6:11 on a Friday night. And no, I'm not taking my wife on a date tonight. She's actually going to a musical tonight with my daughter. But um, I'm not going to be gone. I'm right here with you. So I think, and I'm enjoying it. I'm glad I'm here with you. If you got anything that you want to talk to me about, send me a text. If you send me a message, and we can go from there. If not, we're just going to talk about wellness tonight. And with this week, we wrapped up our temptation deal on Monday. We talked about the Maker's Diet on Wednesday. Last night we got a little bit technical, and I was kind of surprised because it seemed like there was several people that kind of were interested in that. So maybe we can make that a little bit more technical, and so we're going to get into it. And it just like it always does. It comes together. It all winds back on itself. So the article, I was just listening, I was just looking through some of the health in the news stuff and U.S. News and World Report. Now, look, I know about I'm starting to really understand the like media and all this sort of thing, and all these advertisements and all these media companies and all this stuff, and that how they will feed you a line of crap that's not true, and they'll just make stuff up, and then they'll create division, and then it'll just be us against them and all that sort of thing, right? Well, I'm not into that stuff. I'm into health. And so I still think I can look and just see what the headline is, what the headline of the day is, regardless of where it comes from. So I don't know anything about U.S. News and World Report. I know a lot about your cervical curve. I know a lot about how you correct your diabetes. I could tell you what's going on with your inflammation. I know how your nervous system works somewhat. I know a lot of things, but I don't know anything about cars either, by the way. I'm really horrible with motors, but I know about health, and I don't necessarily know about this. So don't get mad at me. Just like some of my patients got mad at me for drinking Starbucks coffee. I'm like, oh, just don't get mad at me. I just like coffee. Same thing with this. This is U.S. News and World Report, but the headline says New COVID-19 hospitalizations increased for third week in a row. CDC Director Mandy Cohen this week told Congress that not, quote, not enough Americans have gotten the updated coronavirus vaccine. Now, let's let's talk about that from wellness. First of all, this is a chiropractic wellness office, and I base everything that I do on the vertebral subluxation, and the subluxation is interference in your nervous system, and that's what we do is detect and correct subluxations. So my job is to try to figure out all of the pathways that can create interference in your nervous system and try to help you remove those pathways so that you can function as optimally as possible. So I'm not treating COVID or talking about it. It's just here we go again, right? Here we go again. And the CDC director says this week that let's tie those two things together. That the new COVID-19 hospitalizations increased for the third week in a row, and it's because you haven't gotten your coronavirus vaccine. Well, look, that's hogwash. That right there, those two things are just hogwash. And then the whole article, the whole article goes on in the end to talk about that more than 19,400 new COVID hospitalization admissions were reported last week, according to data from the CDC. While the numbers are a fraction of the massive surges previously saw during the pandemic, it still means that the country is entering winter with elevated coronavirus levels. Okay, we're entering winter with elevated virus levels, like we have done in the history of mankind. We're entering winter with elevated virus levels, just like we entered summer with elevated virus levels, just like we entered spring with elevated virus levels. There's always viruses. You can get the flu in the middle of the summer. I've done it before. That's a scheme. Remember when we were talking about temptation, we were talking about pay attention to those schemes. It still means the country is entering winter with elevated coronavirus levels. If we're getting and it gives all the statistics. After a period of limited change, COVID-19 activity is increasing again, especially in the Midwest and Mid-Atlantic regions, the CDC said in the report published Friday. Well, if it's increasing again because we're going into winter, and maybe there are other factors that have something to do with why we have an increased amount of viruses in the winter, right? But what you do is if you're not careful, and it's just constant, and it's by design, and it's this constant bombardment of our brains with these sensational headlines that try to get us to fall for this stuff and believe it. And I'm telling you, they've done it for so long. That's what we were talking about earlier. I think it's Tuesday night, but when we were talking about the headache and the acetaminophen and what should I take for it? My back pain, whatever. My patient ibuprofen. My patient asked me, should I take my ibuprofen for it? Like it was the normal, right? Well, in order to get the normal, you have to repeat it so many times and repeat it so many times and repeat it so many times that you finally get to the point where it's believed by everyone. Like it's just common knowledge. It's like it's flu season. It's flu season in the wintertime. And it's like, why is it flu season in the wintertime when flu's around in the summertime? Well, it's flu season in the wintertime because our immune systems are losing their vitamin D and some other things. We're not getting our walking done, all those wellness type things, right? So when I see these articles, I'm at the point now where it's just ridiculous. Like there's some sort of agenda going on with all this. And it's always the same thing, and it's always trying to scare you into some sort of pathway that you couldn't possibly get through this COVID season without having to go to the hospital if you didn't get your vaccine. That's basically what they're trying to say right there. That I just want you to know, the Centers for Disease Control director, the Centers for Disease Control is an interesting title because it doesn't have anything to do with wellness. It just is talking. Okay, the Centers for Disease Control. I don't even know what that means, really. Disease control. Like, what about the Centers for Wellness? Like, what about having a way of keeping our people well? Like, I read yesterday that the Attorney General of Texas is suing Pfizer. He's suing Pfizer for let's see if I can find this right quick. It says this is Ken Paxton's the X account, Twitter. He says, I'm suing Pfizer for misrepresenting COVID-19 vaccine efficiency and conspiring to censor public discourse. Well, that's great. I mean, I'm glad he's going after him, and I think that's great. But he said right here that that he's going after him because they represented all of this information that was misleading. It was highly misleading. And they did that, and they did represent it in a highly misleading fashion. But you know what I did when their whole thing came out and their Pfizer thing came out? I went directly to the Pfizer website and I read the study with my own eyes, because Coach Dykes used to say. I read the study with my own eyes, and I went right straight to the website and read it. And it was like all the things that Ken Paxton is suing Pfizer for now, it was right there on their website when it happened. And any doctor, any leader, any mayor, any governor, anybody in our state, anybody in the nation, anybody that wanted to could have gone to their website. I'm just a silly old chiropractor and sitting here in my office on my computer. And I went to the website and I read the study and I read how they split them up. Now, what I've found out since then is that they left out some stuff, and that's fine. They're going to get it when it comes around. They're not going to be able. You can't run from that forever. But the it was plain as day right there, based on reading the study. Like, based on reading the study, there is no possible way that all of that riffraff that came out about 95% effective and all that sort of thing, that it stops transmission and it does all that. There's no way that could have been true if you just read the study. You didn't have to be a genius. All you had to do is just read the study that was on their own website. The way, like if I had 50 patients and I put 50 patients on one side of the office, and I put 50 patients on the other side of the office, and I fed all these people over here popcorn, and I fed all those people over there Snickers bars, and then at the end I asked them all, what bowl game was Texas Tech going to go to? What? What? Like, when eating popcorn or eating Snickers bars, have you be able to tell you one way or the other which bowl game that Texas Tech was going to go to? And the answer is no, it doesn't have anything to do with it. Everybody in anybody that would come in here and read that study, they would look at me and be like, what are you talking about? What are you possibly talking about right now? Like, how could it be possible that any of these people could even do that, right? Well, when you read the study, it says, it goes through that whole thing, and it talks about how they put all these people in one group and all these people in another group, and they vaccinated half of them, and then they waited to see who had it, and they saw them on day 1, and then they saw them on day 28, and I think they saw them on day 56 or something, and then they didn't see them till day 100 and something, 180, like at 6 months. Like, there's no possible way they could measure any of that transmission. Just all you got to do is look at the study. You don't have to be magna cum laude to figure that out. You just look at the study and say, there's no way they could figure out if it if it was spread to someone else, right? There was no way that they could even tell. And then whether you get it, you don't get it. And there's so much stuff that's come out on it now. My point's not about that, because that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about wellness, right? So when all that stuff came down, and then now here it is again, they're not talking about what you can do. So I thought to myself when I saw this, I was like, okay, I take this sentence that the patient said, I wish I would have found you earlier. And then I put that together with, if she would have found me earlier, what would I have told her? And I would have told her what Dr. Chestnut is, I think he copyrighted it: eat well, move well, and think well. That's what we do in wellness. We eat well, move well, and think well. If you want to be more well, eat better. My patient today, my new patient this afternoon, his deal was sweet tea. He's like, oh yeah, well, it's better than Dr. Pepper. I used to drink Dr. Pepper and now I drink sweet tea. I'm like, nope, nope, nope. That's not wellness. That's not how it works. Well, everybody's got a vice. Everybody's got something that they have a vice. That's not how it works. Remember, that's not wellness. We've got so many sentences that we've gotten so used to that we just can't believe it, that we just live it as if it's the truth, and it's not the truth. None of that stuff was the truth. You're going to sue those guys now for them. I think a certain amount of maturity has to come along with the person that's responsible for taking that stuff. Like, there's a certain amount of maturity that has to go on, and that's the whole reason. That's the whole reason I'm even on this radio show, and I think we've talked about that before. Is because I spoke up to our mayor in our town about that, and he said, you know, what he told me. He said they're going to have I'd love to talk to you about the science, but I don't have time. And I was like, I'd love to talk to you about the science too, because I don't think you could get past 3 sentences. I don't think your argument would hold up 3 sentences deep if you want to talk about the science. And he said, well, there's a bunch of doctors from our local hospital that are going to be on a Zoom call this afternoon. You can listen to that and they'll explain to you what it's about. And so I did. I listened to that. And the very first doctor on the very first thing said that it was 90% effective and that it stopped the virus. Well, he didn't even get through 3 sentences. He went straight on through and right up in the front. It was, but that's what happens in our society. That's what happens to our group when we get people with all these different agendas that are trying to trick us into something. Those schemes, there's something right there. Or we get a bunch of people that don't study wellness and what it means to be well. And then all of a sudden they study disease. They study disease. They don't study wellness. And then they tell you how to be well by studying disease. And it's like, that's not how it works. That you're doing it all backwards because you're not even focusing on the wellness part of it. And this morning in our staff meeting, we said, what is the wellness? Well, wellness is being fit and well enough to handle whatever comes your way today. Whatever it is that you have to face today, are you prepared physically, mentally, emotionally to handle that thing that you have to handle today? Well, a lot of us, and that's what I said, it's like, look, I don't train with a gun on my back climbing up and down mountains because I don't think, now I know that could be a scenario that I face in some form or fashion sometime in my life. We have World War III all breaks out and there's all kinds of craziness going on. I could conceive the idea that I would be on a mountain somewhere trying to carry a gun and having to climb up and down mountains and fight or something. Okay, I could conceive that that's an idea, but it's not likely that that's going to happen to me in my lifetime. So I don't necessarily prepare or train for that day. That's not what I'm training for. I come to work, I adjust patients all day long, and I do radio shows, and those are the things that I want to prepare myself for when I'm eating well, moving well, and thinking well, so that I can be the most awesome me that I can possibly be. And the tricky part about wellness and trying to do some of the things that we do is that you don't ever know what day and what thing it is that you're about to face. But we do know that when we get to every single day of our life, we are going to be facing viruses and bacteria. We know that for sure. And when we get to the winter, we're going to have to be ready to take on these viruses, and so that we can survive. Doesn't mean we won't get sick. It just means we can survive. And so how do we do that? Well, if you're being well, survival is a whole different thing from a wellness standpoint than it is from a disease prevention standpoint. And that's what we want to do. That's where eat well, move well, think well is all comes together. And so when we get back from the break, we're fixing to take a break on the radio. When we get back from the break, I want to get into those some of those things that we can do to combat having to go to the hospital if we get COVID. I want to talk about some of the things that we do to be well from any of the viruses that we're going to be facing. And I'm just going to show you some of the articles that tie all those things together. So, this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, and we will be back in just a few minutes. Yeah, I know there's a lot of I know when you start talking about the vaccines and you start talking about COVID and you start talking about all this stuff, and we are going to talk about it on our book review show because I'm actually um, listening to Rand Paul's book called Deception, and he breaks it all down and gives us some insight from a congressman's standpoint into what's going, about the whole thing, and Dr. Fauci and all the what they've been doing in Eco Health Alliance and all that stuff. So I'm just breaking that down, and I'm not there quite yet, but I know that sometimes people they're a little fussy about that, or they're like, you shouldn't talk about that. That's not your game or whatever. Well, if I can relate it to wellness, and I can relate wellness to the subluxation, it's within my scope of practice in the state of Texas to do that. And I also think that it needs to be pushed back on a little bit when we get so much of that pushed at us all the time. Somebody needs to push back just a little bit to create some balance from all those things that we hear and all those things that are happening to us. So I'm not afraid to talk about it, and I'm not doing anything illegal, and I'm not doing anything that's against my scope of practice in the state of Texas, and so it's just something that we're gonna talk about because it's part when you if you talk about it in a way that you wrap it back around to wellness, and that's what I'm gonna just show on the other side of the break. I'm just gonna show some ideas about how we deal with viruses and what are some of those things that right now we should be doing, and why is it that sweet tea is not a good idea? Like like sweet tea is delicious, especially if you get it in South Carolina. Because I went to Myrtle Beach one time, and we went to Charleston. We flew into Charleston, and we spent the night in Charleston, and we went around the pier, did all that stuff. You ever want to go to a cool place? Charleston, South Carolina is a cool place to go to. There's a lot of history there and a lot of things going on. But and we went there, and I think we went to a Chili's or something, and um, I don't know if I ordered sweet tea, if I just ordered tea, because I don't think in the South you actually order sweet tea. I think you just order tea and you get sweet tea. And my goodness, it was like a glucose drip. Like I felt like I was getting like a glucose IV stuck in my arm by drinking that tea. That tea was so sweet. Like it was. And the second glass and the third glass were just as sweet as the first glass. That it was one of those deals right there. So hang on, we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. We were just chatting during the break on the Facebook and YouTube and X that just a little bit about sweet tea, and I was telling them that um, that's one of the things that we shouldn't be doing. Like right now, we should be taking our vitamin D. Right, our vitamin D is going to help our immune system function, and but we shouldn't be drinking that sweet tea that we were talking about because that sweet tea is going to decrease your immune system function. And I told him one time I went to Charleston, South Carolina, because my daughter was dancing, and she had a camp to go to in Myrtle Beach for a week. Now I know that's a horrible place to have to go in the summertime for a camp, but um, we went up there and we went into a Chili's and I ordered iced tea. And in the South, you don't order sweet tea; you just order tea. It's assumed that it's sweet, so you don't have to worry about that. So I ordered that tea, and it was it was sweet. I felt like it was straight glucose right into my bloodstream. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is sweet." But that's one of the things I'm talking about. I just want to let's put a few things together right here. So let's put some thoughts together and and talk about a few different um, a few different ideas that will help us understand um, like what is important. Well, let's just talk about this article first, and I think I might have mentioned it, but if I haven't, I'll mention it now. It's vitamin D and its potential benefit for the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this is Endocrine Practice in the Journal of Endocrine Practice, May 2021, volume 27, number 5, pages 484 to 493. The reason I give you all that information is because I want it to be very clear that I'm reading from an article that's talking about something to make sure that it's very clear where the article came from. But the key points in the article, and these were from a bunch of doctors, PhDs from Boston University School of Medicine and a university in Thailand. And so vitamin D is responsible for regulating calcium and phosphate metabolism and maintaining healthy mineralized skeleton. We talked about that a few weeks ago. Vitamin D is not only known for its importance for bone health, but it is also recognized for its potential protective effects against multiple chronic diseases, as well as its immunomodulatory effects. Sorry, I ate a handful of almonds right before I started. That's what's choking me up. I'm not sick. Vitamin D receptors are found in many cell types and tissues, including the skin, skeletal muscle, adipose tissue, endocrine, pancreas, immune cells, and blood vessels. Due to the presence of the vitamin D receptor in most tissues, including the skin, skeletal muscle, blah, 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 vitamin D has been shown to have a multitude of non skeletal biological effects. It's not just for your bones, there's a lot of stuff going on right there. Experimental studies have shown that vitamin D exerts several actions that are thought to be protective against coronavirus disease, infectivity, and severity. And these include immunomodulatory effects of the innate and adaptive immune systems, regulatory effects of the renin angiotensin aldosterone system. That's the strongest blood pressure system in your body, is that renin angiotensin aldosterone system. And so in the kidneys and the lungs, and protective effects against endothelial dysfunction and thrombosis, which means blood clots. Vitamin D supplementation is beneficial in protecting against risk of acquiring acute respiratory viral infections and may improve outcomes in sepsis and critically ill patients. So that just comes from that one article right there that says vitamin D is this is an argument that vitamin D is important and can help you be healthier. Okay? So now we jump to the Frontiers in Nutrition, December 7th, 2020, Volume 7, Article 606398. So the title of this article is Zinc, Vitamin D, and Vitamin C Perspectives for COVID-19 with a focus on physical tissue barrier integrity. And this one is from a whole group of people, and this study cites 200 references. The review aims to provide a comprehensive overview of the roles of zinc and vitamin C and vitamin D in the immune response to viral infections, focusing on the synergistic actions of these nutrients in the maintenance of physical tissue barriers such as the skin and mucosal membrane. The triad, I don't even have to say that, theory postulates that in the event of a nutrition deficiency, that nutrient is allocated primarily to functions related to immediate survival while long-term functions are impaired. So if you have a deficiency in your nutrition, then your body's going to take those resources. It's like, look, I don't have enough to fight off what I'm fighting off today and for long-term stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to worry about today and not worry about long-term stuff. And so um, that's it's why eating well is important, right? Nutrition is a determinant factor for the maintenance of homeostasis and the health of different organs and physiological systems of an organism, including immune function. What that's saying is you have to have good nutrition in order for your body to function properly, especially your immune system. Inadequate nutrition is considered a contributing factor to the emergence of viral infection due to its contribution to weakness of the immune system, which increases the rate of infection and the risk of mortality and morbidity. Now, why didn't the CDC director say that? Right? Why didn't they come out and say, hey, we're getting an uptake of hospitalizations from this virus, any virus, X virus, doesn't make any difference what virus they say. Why wouldn't they come out and say, inadequate nutrition is considered a contributing factor for the emergence of viral infection? Hey, it's very important, everybody, that we get the proper nutrition in the winter in order to make sure that, and why in the winter? Well, the reason that it's in the winter is because we're losing that vitamin D. We're losing that vitamin D in the winter because we're not getting sunshine. And we're not getting sunshine because it's cold and we want to put a jacket on. And the sun's moving, the earth's moving away from the sun, and we're losing the rays like we're supposed to. But we're definitely losing vitamin D in the winter. And when our vitamin D goes low, then we have the opportunity to get sick. Viral infections increase the demand for several micronutrients such as vitamin A, B, C, D, zinc, and selenium. Some nutrients play a key role in maintaining the integrity and function of the immune system, presenting synergistic actions in steps determinant for the immune response. Zinc and vitamin C and D stand out for having immunomodulatory functions and for playing roles in preserving physical tissue barriers. There we go. So there's one thing if you're thinking about what you can do, action steps to be a master in wellness. Action steps right there is to make sure you're getting proper nutrition. Now, when you're thinking about nutrition, there's a concept that you might consider, and that is that nutrition, you have proper nutrition, and then you have negative nutrition. Don't know what the best word is for it right there, but it's not that it's like you can have nutrition that's actually moving you towards health and helping you be healthier, or you can have nutrition that's moving you away from health fast. And that's what sweet tea will do for you. That sugar will move you away from health fast. I got COVID after I went to Las Vegas for a weekend and ate ice cream every night for 5 days. It took Leslie on her 50th birthday to there. And then when I came back, my immune system was jacked up, and that was in 21. And that's when I got COVID. I think I did. I never got tested for it. I just went home because I had a fever of 102 for 11 days. And I just went home and handled it. And then I came back to work when it was over. It wasn't any big deal. It was kind of fun. I kind of enjoyed it, actually, the whole process of it. But what I had done is I had eaten negative nutrition. I remember what we said one time this week is preventative eating. Well, I did the opposite of preventative eating, and that was back in 21. And don't worry about that. I'm not going to do that again. Y'all all know that actually tomorrow. Tomorrow's 21 months since I've had sugar. 21 months since I've had a bowl of ice cream and all that sort of thing. So I'm not doing that again. But when one of the things that I wonder about the show is if I give enough action steps of what a person could do to be healthier. If it's like I talk about wellness and I talk about health, but I'm not sure that I actually like, okay, now that you've convinced us that we need to be well, what should we do to be well? Okay, what you should do to be well is make sure that you're getting the proper nutrients for your body. Okay, what does that mean? You got to eat the proper foods that you were designed to eat in order to keep yourself, to give your chance, the best chance, to give your body the best chance to handle whatever is going to be thrown at it today, right? So that's what we're trying to accomplish. So if that's what we're trying to accomplish, then eating well is a vital component of that. Eating well moves us towards health. Eating grass-fed animals, that like what Jordan Rubin talked about on Wednesday in the Maker's Diet. It's wild animals, wild grass-fed animals, wild fish, wild chickens, wild turkeys, all those animals that we're supposed to eat. Those animals that we're supposed to eat, you can eat those animals. Just make sure they're wild. Why? Why do you want to make sure they're wild? Because farm raised salmon, from everything that I've been taught by all the people who study wellness, farm raised salmon is toxic. It's negative nutrition. It's not that it doesn't make you well, it actually makes you sick. So you don't want to eat a farm raised fish. You want to eat a wild fish that's in the wild, not in the forest wild, in the woods wild, in the ocean wild. That's where the fish are, right? So that's what you're looking for when it comes to your meats. Eat your grass-fed animals. Why? Because the grass-fed animals are not fed high omega-6 fatty acids that cause your body to create inflammation. And you get more inflammation and you have a higher chance of having a cytokine storm if you get a viral infection and your lungs fill up with fluid and you can't breathe. It's like no one talks about it. They're not going to talk about that. The director of the CDC, with all that dadgum money, with all the taxpayers' money, and all of the resources that those people have, they're not going to talk about that. They're going to talk about vaccines. It's like, stop it. Like, I'm not, it's not, that's not about the vaccine. It's like, why don't you tell the people that maybe they should eat grass-fed animals? Maybe they should eat their vegetables. Maybe they should eat their nuts from a tree. Those are action steps that we can do, right? Those are action steps that we can do. And I found out we had a question the other day is what about olive oil? Is it a vegetable oil? And then Susan, she looked it up. And if you guys didn't see that, I didn't know that it's a fruit. An olive is a fruit. So that's according to Susan. And thank you for that information, by the way. But there's one component that right there that makes it important for us to be healthy, right? So that's just one area that we can do is we can eat the nutrients. If you're not at this point, it's in this wintertime. We're December 1st. You should be taking your vitamin D. You should take your vitamin D. You should check your vitamin D level. And if your vitamin D level is low, you should take your vitamin D because you don't want to run out of it and lose the resources that it takes in order for your immune system to function properly. I think that's a true statement. So then we get into the other things that we get into, and I saw this article as I was going through my stuff, and I've talked about this before. So acetaminophen depletes liver glutathione, and I know if you don't understand wellness, you don't understand really what that means. Acetaminophen, that's what you get in Tylenol and Excedrin and NyQuil and all that sort of thing, depletes liver glutathione. And this article, glutathione and liver disease and hepatotoxicity, molecular aspects of medicine, 2009, February. Our findings suggest that acetaminophen administration selectively depletes within 2 hours mitochondrial glutathione and produces local toxicity by altering membrane permeability and decreasing the efficiency of oxidative phosphorylation. Now, I know that's, you don't understand what all that means, but within 2 hours, it depletes within 2 hours mitochondrial glutathione. And you say to yourself, all right, so what? What difference does it make if I have glutathione or I don't have glutathione? What difference does it make? Well, glutathione is pivotal in 3 areas of physiology. The immune system function. I can't even make this stuff up, man. I mean, it's like I couldn't even, if I tried, have so much of this stuff right here. It's just like elevated glutathione levels enables the body to produce more white blood cells. Glutathione is a sort of food for the immune system, and this comes from Jimmy Gutman, MD, by the way. Glutathione is at the heart of all immune functions. Okay, glutathione is at the heart of all immune functions, and acetaminophen depletes glutathione. So, what is another way that you might be? Now, this is kind of what I was talking about a while ago when I used that silly analogy about the article that the Pfizer article on the vaccine, right? I want you as the listener to put those two things together. I want you to read those two things together. I want you to read this. I want you to read this here. Acetaminophen depletes liver glutathione. If you take acetaminophen, you deplete glutathione. Now, read this. Glutathione is at the heart of all immune functions. So now, if you put those two things together, what would those two things tell you? It would tell you that if you want to decrease the heart of all immune functions, take acetaminophen. If you want to make your immune system function worse, take acetaminophen so that you can deplete your glutathione levels and your glutathione loses its ability to protect your mitochondria. Like, see what I mean? That was the same way that's not what that said. Those aren't the sentences that said. You just have to be able to understand the two sentences and how they fit together. That's why reading Pfizer's research study, it was easy to see that it wasn't 90% effective. It was 0.34% effective between the two groups. And that wasn't even true because you didn't even test all the people that had the vaccine to see whether or not they had it or didn't. You didn't see those people every Friday and say, okay, every Friday we're going to give you a test to see if you have this virus. They didn't do that. Anybody in that group could have gotten sick, passed it to somebody else, all that stuff, right? And then they make out like I'm some sort of villain in my own town because I'm not going to buy into that nonsense. And I know half of you are vaccinated. I get it. I know that at least that, or 70% of our community is that way. So I know I'm talking to you. I'm not talking at you. I'm just pointing out that when you're talking about wellness, it's like if you have a fever, within 2 hours of taking the Tylenol, you're going to deplete glutathione. And if you take it for 5 days, you're going to deplete it to the point where your immune system function is so bad that you might give in to the virus and have to end up in the hospital on a respirator. That is important. That glutathione is important. Well, how you know this is coming. You know it's coming. So I'm already telling you it's coming. Because you know what I'm about to say. If you know me at all and you've been around for a little bit and you've been watching this show, you know what I'm about to say. Because you just know who I am. Okay. There's the cell. There's the mitochondria. What protects the mitochondria? Glutathione. How do you get glutathione in the cell? Oh, I didn't even turn this on. Sorry. How do you get glutathione in the cell? Right? How do you get glutathione in the cell? It's got to pass through the cell wall. the glutathione has to pass through the cell wall. The 3 little amino acids out here that have to go through there. I've said this again and again and again and again. You got to get it through that cell wall. What's the cell wall made of? It's omega 6s and omega 3s. What happens if your cell wall is 31-1 when it's supposed to be 3-1? That means that it's too rigid, and now you can't get the glutathione into the cell, can't get the building blocks in there, and now you can't protect the mitochondria. So how do you get your 6:3 ratio proper? I know it. You think I'm crazy. Take your fish oil. Take your fish oil. Take your fish oil and you get your 6:3 ratio proper, and you help protect your mitochondria. And you wonder, is that even a thing? Is that why would you talk about that all the time? I talk about it all the time because I think it's important for your health. I'm not making it up. I promise. I promise you, I'm not making it up. It's something that is. Let me see. Yep, here we go. This is the one. This is the article that I've been using since 2009. I just got lucky and found this article this afternoon. And when I was looking through some of this stuff, see if you can see it. Right there. Mitochondrial dysfunction and molecular pathways of disease. A wide range of seemingly unrelated disorders such as schizophrenia, bipolar, dementia, Alzheimer's, epilepsy, migraines, headaches, strokes, neuropathic pain, Parkinson's, ataxia, transient ischemic attack, cardiomyopathy, coronary artery disease. You ever had any of those? You know anybody that's got them right now? At your church, do you pray for them every Sunday? All those things that the people have that goes into there. Transient ischemic attacks, TIAs, retinitis pigmentosa, diabetes, hepatitis C, and primary liver cirrhosis have an underlying physiological mechanism in common, namely reactive oxygen species production, that's free radicals, and blah, 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 accumulation of mitochondrial DNA damage resulting in mitochondrial dysfunction. All of those things result in mitochondrial dysfunction. When you have mitochondrial dysfunction in your brain, you get a brain disease. When you have mitochondrial dysfunction in your foot, you get a foot disease. If you have mitochondrial dysfunction in your heart, you'll get a heart disease. You got to keep the power on to the cell. Then what can you do? What's an action step that you can do to help to protect your mitochondria? You can take your fish oil, and your fish oil will help you protect your mitochondria. Those are action steps. See what it's like? I know I'm repetitive, and I'm even repetitive in saying that I'm repetitive. I even understand that. But it all comes back to foundational premises that just keep coming back and coming back and coming back. And you can put them together. You just take an article of the headline news in U.S. News and World Report, and you just say, hey, look, hospitalizations are going up. What can we do? Oh my gosh, should we just get away from each other? No. The number one thing we should do is be social. The number two thing we should do is walk, because we need to keep our brain going. Go for a walk. Go for a walk. It's too cold. Go to the mall. Go to Lowe's. That's what I told a guy this week. Go to Lowe's. Go to the far aisle on one side and walk down that aisle, and then walk all the way to the other side of the building and walk down that far aisle, and then come back to the second aisle and walk up that one, and then walk back across to the other one and come up the second aisle. Do that all the way across Lowe's. No one will even know what you're doing. Nobody even cares. Go to Home Depot, go to Costco, go walk around the grocery store. Go someplace that it's warm and walk. That would be something that you could do to keep your immune system functioning well by keeping your brain functioning well. That would be something that would be a good idea for this time of year, right? Take your vitamin D, make sure you're getting your nutrients, make sure you get your sleep like we talked about. All those things, they all fit together, right? Those are things that we can do to be healthy. You can get your workouts in, you can make sure that you're getting the right nutrition, you can get the right sleep, eat well, move well, think well, keep yourself balanced, stay after it. That's what it's all about. Hey, that's the end of the show. That's the end. That's the beginning of the fourth month. And I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. I hope everything goes your way. And we will be back on Monday night at 6 with the we'll see what's going on at church on Sunday. And we'll be back Monday night at 6 right here. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.